All right, everybody, welcome to our Thanksgiving episode of RxPerience. I'm your host, Chad, alongside Tom. And we are more than blessed to have with us the 2025 Richard Berman Award winner, Harry Thibideau. And if you've been to the Berman Awards in the past 4 or 5 years, we've really emphasized family, and we've emphasized bringing past award winners up to present these awards and really lean into, again, that family component of ASCP, because that's one of our biggest features in this little association of innovative pharmacies and pharmacists. So, and no better person to talk about Thanksgiving and family than Harry, who many people may not remember or know that his daughter was also involved in ASCP way back in the day. Like when I was growing up in this industry, I think she was an intern under Lee. Was that a fair assessment?
She was in law school and she was an intern under Lee. That is correct.
Right. So all those, it was probably around Medicare Part D. I feel like that's when we were in and out of DC a lot, at least from my role at Skilled Care at the time. She was around then, and that's probably how I met Harry the first time. Was way back then, and then your sidekick Harlan, if that's a fair way to put it. His family business. He won the Richard Berman Award a couple years ago, posthumously, unfortunately. So nobody embodies ASCP and family than Harry Thibodeau, right?
But yeah, I mean, as I said, when I gave my little speech, and I thought about it before I was giving it. My wife said, "You wrote something down, right?" And I said, "You know better than that. That's not me. So I'll just get up and wing it from the heart." And I meant it. And what I said that night is what I truly felt. That because you mentioned families, and it was 3 families for me. It was, my personal family at home with my wife and kids, and, blessed to have 2 kids that are physicians, and my daughter very successful in the industry now, pharma industry. And then, my family at work. And when I was young, I made a commitment to myself, and I asked my wife at the time, I said, are you willing to go along for this ride? And she said, where are we going? And I said, every place this profession has to take me. And we traversed the country doing different things, from being a pharmacy director in Florida to, working for, at that time, Thrift Drugs and with Nancy Losman. Nancy and I were friends in a former career working together for Thrift Drugs in the chain drugstore in district management. And, and a friendship I will always cherish. And then, finding out just through serendipity, getting into the long-term care world, and then separation happened in New Jersey, and I like the clinical aspect more. And, Harlan and I were friends, and just taking that first contract to Harlan and saying, I think I finally found a home. And now it's 38 years later. It's hard to believe that much time has gone by. And along that ride, it was the 3rd family that I found, an organization that represented me the best. I belong to APHA, I belong to New Jersey Association, but having something that represented me in the specifics of what I do as a consultant was something that was very important to me. And that's why, in that very first year, I jumped on board with government affairs. And that was prior to Lee starting. And that's, I don't know if anybody else was amused, but I was surely amused that first meeting that I had in Washington. And, I fell in love with it. And have, look, as we all know, there's been some trials and tribulations along the way inside the organization, but I think that's healthy. Inside of any organization, you go through growing pains. And I've always been happy to be a part of that. Trying to stay out of the controversy, but, for the most part, it's been extremely rewarding. It's amazing to me how fast this has gone by.
No doubt about that.
Well, we hear this often, and again, you epitomize it. You're not just involved, This is about family, and you're deeply involved in multiple different aspects. But because you've been involved so long, tell us how kind of ASCAP and your relationship with long-term care, how's that evolved in the last 15, 20 years?
Oh,
30. I didn't want to date you that much, but
30, 38. Listen, I said it that night also. I remember my first time I met Sam Kidder, and he reminded me how fragile this was for us as pharmacists, being involved in this. I mean, and I know he fought hard to have us be the champions of regimen review as opposed to any other profession, not to knock the other professions. And I always listened to that, and I never took that for granted. And over the years, I think that we've strengthened our position to where we're at today. But along the way, there's been some rocky roads, Tom. I'm hard pressed to. Well, look, we have separation in New Jersey, and that has always been a controversial thing. I can tell you that we did some work, and Chad, you're familiar with this, back in 2011. We did some work with, at that time, Dr. Gelman down at CMS. And we showed that, in our state, to try and set the controversy aside, that what we were doing in our state made sense. It was, in looking at, I believe it was the Oscar data and some of the other data sets, that it didn't cost more money. We were effective. I think there was only one other state that was better than us in, reducing the number of psychoactive meds that the patients were on in nursing homes. So, for me, it was like, I'm not trying to convince the rest of the country you need to go this route, but for us, I had to defend what we were doing and, show that through that separation mode that we could avoid any of the conflicts that, have occurred over time. And it all worked out. Now, here we are today where I think there are probably more independent consultants across the country than there have ever been. And, they've started their businesses. I've met with some of these young kids, and for whatever reason, they come up to me and they ask me questions on, how do you do it there? Or do you have any advice for me? And I don't have any really brilliant pearls of wisdom for these kids other than to realize that work hard when you're young, put the time, put the hours and effort in. And as you get a little older, you'll be able to reap the rewards of your successes. And you will gain the respect of your peers. But most of all, I just keep telling people, I tell my group, we have a staff of 80 now, and wow. I stand in front of them, and I know, Chad, you've lectured to my staff. And I tell them all the time, you guys have to get involved. You can't rely on me or the guy sitting next to you to be involved. You have to be involved. So one of the things, Tom, we've seen over the years is, younger people being involved. I'm happy, when I was out in San Diego to see such a young crowd. Mm-hmm. That tells me that the younger crowd are getting involved in their profession and want to make a difference. And the young team that ASCAP has. I really appreciate the support that you have there at ASCAP, Chad. They're a good group. They were very helpful with me leading up to, my award. And, as I've said to you before, I'll stand in front of 10,000 people and talk, Tom, but when it's about me, I find it rather troubling. I'm not one that wants to, I used to sell Harlan all the time. He and I were really good friends, but one of the things that made us get along so well was he wanted to be the king and I wanted to be the kingmaker. Mm-hmm. Because I always felt it was really hard to be the king. Being a kingmaker was easy. So I was deeply appreciative of the award that I got, but on the same token, a little embarrassed. Yeah. Because being in the spotlight was not something that, I ever sought to achieve. But to your question, I've seen things move tremendously forward in our direction over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Where, when I started out, it was just, well, we need you in here because it's a regulation and you need to check a box. To now, it's when there's a problem, we need you to solve the problem. I was the call that I was on prior was an issue with the Joint Commission survey we're having at a facility. And there's so many people that could have resolved this issue but they reach out to the consultants because they trust us to be able to fix any problem they have, it's very rewarding.
No, I think that's a good description of, I think, where this whole industry, where our little sector has gone in the last 30 years. And you talk about separation. There was a lot of really valid rationale around separation, probably to some degree still is. But the whole healthcare system shifts and moves, and there's dynamic to it. And I think you put it really well. Consultant pharmacists, long-term care pharmacies also are in such a unique, different position today because of a lot of the work that was done prior by the Sam Kidders, positively or negatively by different actors in our space. But it's really reinforced the fact that we have a significant role to play, not now only in skilled nursing facilities, but in assisted living. I know your group does a lot of work with self-funded employer groups, with municipalities, all these places that have risk when it comes to medication management are finding people like you now. And we weren't doing that 20 years ago. We weren't doing that in 2011. We were in nursing homes for the most part in these upstart ALs that were a little bit gray in terms of how close they were to a nursing home. Now we're talking about, what about people at home? We need to help people at home that have complex medication needs. And I think it's really been a testament to innovators like yourself and your group that have gone out and tested the fence line and pushed through it in some places and demonstrated the value you bring.
Yeah, well, to that point, I had somebody in my office this morning from one of the pharma companies, and we were talking about it, and she happened to be a pharmacist. So it was a good conversation. And, she was talking about experiences that she had at a previous employer where she was doing, the government aspect of CMRs and TMRs and all that. And she asked me what I thought. And I said, I'll give you my opinion, and my opinion may not be worth anything to you. I said, but I would rather not, because, there's too much complication. And I don't know that an annual review, a comprehensive review, is going to accomplish a whole lot. And she said, well, what else can you do? And I said to her what you just explained, Chad. For more than 10 years now, we took an alternate route. We decided that we were going to get involved in an insurance-based design for value-based care. And I just didn't want to be tethered to anybody and dependent upon them for the revenue that we brought in based on the product that we were supplying. So I looked, as you had said, I looked for any entity that is at risk. And risk in that environment means generally that you're self-insured.
Yeah.
And you can find yourself underwater. So, we go in and we tell them that I never tell anybody I'm going to reduce your spend, but I can help you flatten your spend. And we've been very successful in doing that. And I don't have to rely on the physician for payment. I don't have to rely on insurance companies for payment. It's a direct reimbursement it's a municipality, from the municipality, based on the return on investment that I provide to them.
Yeah.
And it's worked very well.
Yeah, that's really, really impressive. And again, we have the luxury of being able to talk to lots of different business people and consultants throughout the last couple of years of doing this podcast. And that's just another prime example of thinking outside the box, being able to use our skill set to be able to really help the bottom line, to be able to help a provider that would be not considered typical or traditional, kind of consulting. So I really commend you guys for expanding that approach. A lot of people are out there talking now finally about incident to billing and, ECAPs and those type of things. But at the end of the day, you're right, that the person that's at risk, the person that's self-insured and the person that's at risk, they need to expand. And, I see large companies like Walmart and Amazon and other companies, needing these type of services. And so there's groups like Harry's group that can really meet those needs very, very quickly.
Well, and again,
go
ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chad.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, one of the things that the places that this took us, Tom, was, traditionally it was with our first effort was with the municipality. They invited us in because they had a problem. And, it sort of morphed. It was, okay, it's traditional, but then the leader of this municipality provided us with office space. And then, when you're dealing with dependents, some young kids are in college or wherever they're at, then you're on a team call or a Skype call or wherever. They're out of state. So you're dealing with them one-on-one. If you're dealing with a retiree, there's an opportunity possibly to meet them at home. You could be dealing with a municipal judge and you're going to chambers. I mean, it took us into a lot of really interesting spaces to accomplish the goal. But ultimately, the end goal was to, kind of look at the 80-20 rule. 20% of the diseases are driving 80% of the cost. And, I hired, pharmacists that were specialists in disease, diabetes disease management and so on. And, it worked. I mean, our return on investment, our first 18-month report, our return on investment was 7-1 back to the municipality. So, we proved to ourselves that we could do it. And people trying to get me here. We proved to ourselves that we could do it, and the customer was happy. And then the world of COVID hit all of us.
Yeah.
Right. And sort of you backslide from that. So we're taking the program, and I just hired somebody that has that expertise again, and we're going to start it up again.
Well, I think I like what you said too about, because I say this all the time. Like, I'm tired of talking about how we have to prove our worth. Like, if you haven't figured out what we're worth at this point, like, it doesn't matter how much I try to prove it. You're not either going to believe it or you're not going to listen. Like, you need us, plain and simple. Right. You need us. And the way you describe, like, I'm not here necessarily to save you money, but I'm here to make sure you use your money efficiently, because you might be able to take care of 20 more of what you have because of my service versus not being able to take care of them because you don't have my service, or outstripping your insurance or having it cost, more as a result. And that is exactly where we have to be right now. We're not going to get fewer older adults with medication management problems. We're going to get a ton more. We're not going to save any money, absolute dollars, but we might be able to flatten that curve and make it a little bit more efficient if we get the right services in there, and we might improve quality of life. I mean, we will improve quality of life.
So Harry, you mentioned that at ASCP, a lot of young people, and I know we're not getting older, but for some reason they're getting younger. I don't know exactly how that's working out, but let me take you back. Let me take you back 30 years when you first started. You're working with Harlan, and you guys obviously didn't know what the next 20, 30 years were going to bring, and now, knowing what you know now, and let's pretend like you're back that same age, a young pharmacist, and the whole world's ahead of you. But what would you be concentrating on when it comes to telehealth? When it comes to the changes you see when the seniors are we're getting that high volume of seniors right now, and they're staying alive longer, and they're aging into their 80s and 90s. Where would you give a young pharmacist say, hey, this is what I would concentrate on if I was you over the next 20, 30 years. This is what I think is going to be the most relevant space that you can expand or create and expand a business in?
Well, right. So when I look at, society as a whole, when I look at the industry that we're in, and I look at nursing homes, this has got to change. It's not the way that we currently exist. It's not sustainable financially. So I think that there's, we may be going back to what the traditional model was, multi-generational households. I know I did that with my father-in-law, and he lived till he was 99 and 6 months old. And I nothing wrong with my nursing home. Some of them are great, but I just felt if I could keep him relatively healthy and with us, it was so much more rewarding. And I think financially into the future, you're going to see more of that. I would say to some of the young people, and some of them are already doing it, home care. That's something that we started when COVID hit with our, taking our value-based care and, going in that direction. It's labor intensive, but I would say to the young people, there's a whole new market out there for you because, people my age are living longer, they're living healthier. And it's not that you have to make a visit to somebody's house, but there's a lot more communities out there, senior centers. Here in New Jersey, I think we have more 55 and over communities than probably any place in the country per square mile. You can go to their activity center, their senior living center, and you can hold your classes there. And you're not going to be dealing with the municipality, but I will tell you, if you're living in those communities, the seniors do have money and they want to be healthy. So if you can put your marketing plan together properly, if you're a good professional that likes to talk to people, you can probably get business in those communities. And to me, that's got to be the next leap. Now, I'll depend on you guys in the organization and your proximity to Washington, D.C. to help us convince some of the legislators that there should be reimbursement for this. That should be the next step. But I would say that, consulting is morphing into many different avenues. And I think for the young people, I can tell you, Tom, it's not just what I think, it's being out there and having a lot of the young people come up to me and talk to me. They want to know, what can we do? How do we get started? Mm-hmm. I can only share with them the experiences that I've had. Right. And then watching some of one of the things that's interesting for me is that our company has been a fertile training ground for my competition. I have more competition that started here at Pharmacare than, well, I don't mind talking about it. I am talking about it. And I'm very proud of the fact that they got good training here. And competition is healthy. I have no problem with the folks that started here and went off and started their own businesses. They're good people. They're smart, and they figured it out. Mm-hmm. And they're successful.
And that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that.
Well, this is our Thanksgiving episode, and Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because number one, I don't have to buy anything for anyone and disappoint them.
Turkey.
Yeah, but I don't have to buy gifts. Yeah, I don't have to go out and go.
Your gift is your presents.
Yeah, and because I struggle, with that.
It's my gift every week on this podcast.
Is that right?
Oh, jeez.
However. But tell us a little bit about your Thanksgiving. Is there any traditions? What do you guys do? What are you getting ready for?
Oh, well, yeah. So traditionally, I come from a big family. My mom was one of 14 kids.
Wow.
And 7 boys, 7 girls. And all of those kids had 5 kids.
Oh, wow.
So do the math on that. Somewhere 70 cousins.
Oh.
So Western New Jersey is your
Western New Jersey. It just might as well call it Thibideau.
So, they're all over the place.
You guys ran to park out.
But traditionally, as a child, we had Thanksgiving at one relative's house every year. And the tables, plural, were huge. Yeah. Usually about 25 people around the table celebrating Thanksgiving. And, as you get older and, people die off, Thanksgiving is morphed and it's changed. So traditionally, it was now at my house. When my kids were in college, all the strays came home with them. A lot of kids that, were from other countries, whether, European countries or Asian countries, came home to my house. So that's Thanksgiving awesome. Was at my house with my kids and all the strays that came with them. And now my kids are older, they're married, and 2 of them are in Dallas, Texas, and my daughter's still here in New Jersey. So, things change. This year, as Monday morning, actually, I'm getting on a plane and I'm flying to Texas with my wife. God willing, I can get on a plane. And we'll spend Thanksgiving down there because my youngest son his 3rd child is due any day now. Oh, wow. So my wife, we're going to go down. We're going to go down there and we're going to help out with his other 2 kids.
That's awesome.
There might be a football game going on down in Texas as well.
Next there. My oldest son only lives about 10 minutes away from my youngest one, and he's married with 3 kids. And I have relatives down there. I have nieces and nephews. So everybody's going to be getting together at my oldest son's house. So again, Thanksgiving will be big. It'll be big this year.
Awesome.
A lot of kids running around, and then now I've become the patriarch of the family. So the old folks will be there with the young folks.
That's great.
So it'll be good.
That's a perfect Thanksgiving.
I'm looking forward to the football games, and I have a lot to be thankful for. I really do.
That's so awesome. We're thankful for you. I do want you to get in your cousin, because we started talking about that off
you're wearing a hat.
You're wearing your Dodger hat. We know that you're a huge Dodger fan. I like the fact that you're a Dodger fan because I'm a huge baseball fan. And generally, when I was growing up, I hated the Dodgers because they were in the Western Division and they were one of our rivals. But since all the realignment, I've lost. I now hate the Cardinals. Everybody knows I hate the Steelers in football, but I don't hate the Dodgers. So I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of watching you enjoy your Dodgers. And I have another friend in this city that's a big Dodger fan, and you've had a couple good years, but you have a family connection to this.
I can judge your enjoyment by the amount of text messages I get for you.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
My love affair with the Dodgers goes back to when I was a real little kid. My grandmother's brother was, he was an old umpire from minor league baseball. And before I was born, he umpired the Trenton Giants, and Willie Mays played for the Trenton Giants. And my great uncle John used to take my older brothers and I to baseball games, and he used to love to go into Ebbets Field. And so my first recollection of a baseball game was when I was very, very young at Ebbets Field. And, that's the time that the boys of summer were there. You had
Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers.
That's right. You got that right. They were the Brooklyn Robins before they were Trolley Dodgers. But yes, they were the Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers. And, you had the likes of the Sherry brothers. You had Pee Wee Reese. You had Duke Snyder, Gil Hodges. You had, a young rookie that couldn't hit. He was like Major League, Wild Thing. He had a blazing fastball, but he couldn't hit home plate if he tried. His name was Sandy Koufax. And Don Dry, all these guys were there. And as a young kid, very young kid, I fell in love with the team. And then they moved, and I had to follow them. Now in around somewhere around 1950, this young guy graduated from Fordham University, and he went into the booth with Red Barber. And when he walked into that booth, he never left. Then, his name was Vin Scully, and, Vin he was a second cousin. Now I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I knew him real well, because he moved to Los Angeles with them. And, I saw him maybe once during a family reunion or a funeral. So, it wasn't like we were real close, but I have that claim to fame. And it works for me because he was the announcer for the Dodgers. In my opinion, the best announcer baseball ever had, and and a distant relative. So.
Even as a Reds fan, and we have Marty Brennaman, who I would say is one of the greatest radio broadcasters of all time, would tip my cap to Vin Scully as the best. I mean, he really was the best.
Yeah, I kind of think so.
I mean, I listened and got teary on Marty Brennaman's last broadcast and Vin Scully's last broadcast. So I made appointment radio for both of those. That's how great they were. But Vin Scully, I mean, I just saw something the other day that they posted about. Oh, he was talking about socialism. We won't get into that. But he was talking about socialism on his broadcast. And it was just, to hear his voice, like it's just baseball.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm a rabid fan. When I was in college in Brooklyn, I worked at the only 24-hour pharmacy that was in Brooklyn when I was in college. And there were a couple of guys in there that, they were from Brooklyn. So they were diehard Dodger fans. And one guy that was a friend of mine, we would get on a jet and fly on a Friday night out to LA, catch the red eye, go out there for a weekend series, and then fly back on a Sunday night.
Wow.
And at that time, it was cheap at that time. to go do that. Yeah, any chance I get. I mean, and I got my wife involved, and this girl is from Florida. I mean, she's a Southern belle, and she didn't really pay attention to baseball until I got her into the dot. Now she watches games more rabidly than I do.
Wow.
I mean, when I have to put my hands over my eyes because I can't stand the next play that's going to come because it's miserable, she is there cheering them on and watching the game. I mean, I've really created a monster at home with it.
That's awesome. That's great.
As a fan. Oh yeah, she's a great fan. She really is.
So did your kids grow up Dodger fans as well?
Yeah, until all three of my kids went to Boston University.
Oh no.
And God,
Boston.
Yeah. And yep, Boston. And they all became Red Sox fans.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And when the Dodgers played the Sox a few years back in the World Series, my boys came up from Texas and I met them in Boston. We shared a hotel together and we went to the game together, and we had seats out by the pesky pole.
Nice.
And it was great. I'm in all my Dodger regalia, surrounded by a sea of Boston Red Sox fans.
Oh yeah, you were popular.
And I was real popular. And then when it came to the seventh inning, and they were, Sweet Caroline, and you get to the point where they go da da da. All the fans around me got their fingers and they're going da da da, and I'm on the big.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
I love it.
Oh God, it was fun. It was fun. I mean, I didn't get mugged, so I took it in good humor.
Yeah.
But it was a blast.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Good memories.
Absolutely.
Really good memories.
Yeah, I'm sure they're rabid fans up there as well.
Well, I will tell you, Tom. Yes, they're Boston fans, but secretly, I know they're Dodgers fans because when they were little, before the Dodgers moved out to the West Coast to the Cactus League for spring training, I used to take my boys down to the Grapefruit League because my wife is from Florida. So we used to go stay with her parents, and I would take the boys over to Dodger Town, and they could, the games are cheap, they're great, you get to meet the players. And there'd always be this guy out by the third baseline signing autographs and more than willing to talk to you about baseball. And his name was Sandy Koufax.
Wow.
And my youngest one.
Cincinnati Bearcat.
What's that?
Cincinnati Bearcat. Sandy from Koufax. Yep.
And I remember my youngest one at one time just blatantly asking him, like all young kids do, so, Mr. Koufax, could you teach me how to throw a curveball? I mean, it was like, okay, that was surreal.
Yeah.
Right.
But really a nice guy, and just good memories of.
Doesn't he look great? Like we should get him to speak at a meeting. I mean, how old is he?
Yeah, he's in his 90s.
I mean, he looks great. Like when you saw him at the World Series, it looked like he's still up and around, talking baseball with guys. Like unbelievable.
Yep.
Need to learn his secret to longevity.
Yeah. He's got a good consultant pharmacist.
He probably does have a good. It might be Harry.
Might be Harry.
No, wish it were.
Yeah, right.
I really do wish it were. But
well, Harry, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I feel like you are kind of like the voice of ASCP, just like Vin was the voice of the Dodgers. Like you're a giant for us to stand on your shoulders and take this profession forward. Personally and as an association, we appreciate you.
But I mean, you and I have been friends for a long time, and I appreciate our friendship. But with those accolades, I just need to know where I'm sending the check.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, that helps too.
Yeah, right. No, I really do appreciate it. And Tom, I don't know you that well, but getting to know you has been a real pleasure, and it's been an honor. I really thank you guys.
Well, thank you, sir. You blazing the trail and pioneering for us is making people like Chad and I's life quite a bit easier in this industry. So thank you for your legacy and Harlan's legacy. And, we're really looking forward to the next several years of continuing to learn and growing together.
Yeah, well, be careful, guys, because I'm not leaving yet.
No, you're not. No, we're not letting you leave.
Nope.
Yeah. So, but I really appreciate it.
Yep.
And Chad, thanks to your team for putting this together. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Awesome. Well, have a happy Thanksgiving to the audience out there. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time on RxPerience.
Yeah. And same to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.